Dogs can only pay attention to one thing at a time. Your dog can only take in one piece of information at a time. This is the foundation for all dog training. Whether they design it that way consciously or not, all dog training has to work this way because it's how your dog's brain works. But sometimes when we say this, people misunderstand and think that what we're saying is dogs are completely unaware of their surroundings and they're only able to conceptualize this one specific thing in the moment. That's not what we're saying. Dogs are not unaware of their surroundings, but just like you can hyper focus on drawing or something and you don't not know where you are in the world, you're still focusing on drawing only in that moment. You're not confused about where you are once you stop drawing. You understand how the world works. You're just only focused on that one thing. Understanding this is so important because this is how your dog learns and understands things. And to help understand this better, I'm going to break the dog's brain up into 4 parts. And moving forward, we're going to focus on how the moment relates to these other parts of the brain. We have the moment, their attention span, their short-term, and their long-term memory. And the difference between their attention span and their short-term memory is attention span, you're doing puzzles that the dog's going to have to chain together, and it's a little bit more complex. We usually are doing active obedience like lure training in a short-term attention span. If we do that for too long, our dog will get confused and no longer understand the puzzle. Where in passive obedience, the structure of the world is what they need to understand. So they're not chaining together something as much as just understanding what the rules of the environment are. And that would fall under short-term memory, not necessarily their attention span. So we have the moment. If I do 2 things in the same moment, they're only going to take one of those pieces of information forward to notice a pattern. Dog's intelligence is based on pattern recognition. So I have the moment and I have to continuously, sequentially do things to create a pattern in the moment, which is within their attention span. They identify that as a pattern so that they can repeat forward. I continuously do that and hopefully create a positive association in that pattern, and then they can store that pattern in their long-term memory. And then when we go into more passive obedience stuff, it's not I need to focus on this pattern, it's an understanding the structure sort of things. So if my dog is not under direct command, aka active obedience, and they're in passive obedience, they're just trying to understand what they can and can't do in the environment, I can do things that distract them in the moment so that they don't take in other pieces of information. Like there's a dog across the street and I don't want my dog to become over threshold hyper focus on the thing and become a victim of the hormones in their body, so I distract them by throwing food on the ground. I'm not addressing the structure of the environment and helping them understand how to act in that environment. I am using the fact that they can only take in a limited amount of information in a moment to distract them and have them not address the thing. That's not an answer for teach my dog to not be reactive to the dog across the street. I am manipulating how their brain works in order to kick the can down the hill and not address that. I can use that to stop my dog from being over threshold in a situation where it was unavoidable, but that's not the answer to reactivity. That's what we're trying to send the message here. A lot of dog trainers use those facts to manipulate people. We want people to be aware of that and understand how a dog's brain works. So once again, we have the moment. Pattern recognition is how their intelligence works. Pattern recognition within their short-term memory gets stored into their long-term memory. If your dog understands the rules for an environment, that's not something they're like actively think about. That's just understanding of the world, just like you understand what is appropriate and not appropriate for the setting that you're in. So I hope that makes sense on the concept that your dog can only take in one piece of information at a time.